Welcome back, everyone. We've had a few educational get to know human design, learn about yourself, learn about your type videos. And then we did have one implementation video with the, what we call it, the daily check-in.
End of the day.
End of the day, thank you. And so now what we're working on is communication by design. And this one is really near and dear to me, and I'll tell you why. I feel like a lot of the reason why my clients have worked with me in the past is because of what do I want to say? How do I say it? And part of what we're learning here is how to do that more effectively, right? And so if communication has been something that's been a problem for you, whether it's in your relationships or in your business or in your career, or if you're avoiding, it altogether, or if it's full of altercation, this is really going to be insightful because there's a lot of different ways to communicate depending or not depending depending on your type, right? And so take this, listen to it at least one time, and listen for what you want to know, and think about who you know in your life that might reflect some of these qualities, and maybe consider how you could communicate with them. Think about how you could change the way you're communicating with them, and then also recognize the way they're communicating with you, and just see if you can pick up on the nuances. So listen to it one time through, and then go back and listen to it again, and then really think about who you communicate with and how this might serve and support you. So thank you, Nattalee, for being here. I'm going to let you take it away. Communication by design.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, welcome back, everyone. Yeah, I came up with these strategies that we're going to look at as a way for people to experience their design in a really personal way. So what we're doing is, looking at each of the different types and some suggestions, some strategies on how to approach your communication, as Nicole mentioned, with your significant other, your children, especially people that you're living with, family, friends, clients, and your colleagues.
All right. I forgot I'm doing the slides. Just a minute. I'm like listening. So.
Okay, so if you've looked at the previous education pieces, we looked as the manifestor. We're putting the manifestor first because they kind of have that initiating energy, and they're not here to wait or respond to things. They're here to take the action, and really here to impact others, and for them to really feel fulfilled in their life. They need to have a balance of both connecting with others and having freedom. Generators are pure energy, and they are designed to wait. They need something to respond to instead of, taking the first step. You can take the first step, generators, and see what happens. But actually, your energy works when you have something to respond to. Sometimes they can feel stuck, which is just a very natural part of their process. And just really being aware about what are you waiting for. And it's not like being lethargic. It's a conscious waiting. It's a conscious awareness. And you will know when you're giving your energy to the correct things or what brings you alignment, because you will feel deeply satisfied. Manifesting generators, a little different. They're very efficient. Their energy moves very fast. They can skip steps. And, what happens with manifesting generators that move too fast, and they skip essential steps and they have to backtrack. And, so they're really got to, take a moment and pause and find that space in between taking the action and making sure that, did I respond here? Is this something that's satisfying for me? And once they can learn that, they are the most efficient of all the types. Our projectors are natural networkers. They're really focused on the other. They have a real gift of, managing others' energy. And when they can really trust in their own chemistry, like waiting to be invited and then focusing, they get connected with the right opportunities. And just a quick review on the reflectors, are very rarest of the 4 types. They're very open, they're unfixed, they're very changeable, and they can be vulnerable to the influences of others. They have to really find the right people, and they seem to do this naturally. What I've noticed that with reflectors, because they just they have to find what's consistent with them and find the people that they trust the most. So they have very unique perspective. They need time alone each day to just kind of sort through all their experiences they've had, everything they've sampled, and that will really help allow them to come back to center in their wisdom. Okay, so relating to manifestors. Now, whether you know who's a manifestor or not, just imagine this as we described earlier. These are our initiators. So when you're relating to a manifestor, know that your time around them will be much smoother if you give them space and freedom for expression. They have a connection to the throat. Manifestors like to talk. And when they do, there's this very strong resonance. So you want to pay attention to what they're saying. The energy of a manifestor is very attractive. It moves quickly when they're healthy and in their alignment, and they make changes. And sometimes those changes interfere with others. They really need to be, they know that they need the support of others to get their job done. So it's like, as much as they'd like to be the lone wolf, they can't really accomplish all their goals without having the right support. So their speed and power to make things happen, they don't always remember to inform. And that's really their key in telling others, hey, I'm making a change. That will make their life a whole lot smoother, and they can really get to their next steps quicker. So enjoy your time with them when they are in action. It's very inspiring. They get a lot done in a short amount of time. I say they're like the cheetah. The cheetah can run really fast, but for short spurts. And they can do, really do their best that really supports them when you do that. So you yet know that they cannot keep that fast pace up. So the other types, they need more time for rejuvenation. I think each type does in their own different way, but manifestors cannot have the engine turned on all the time, like the cheetah. Got to go take a 3-hour nap. Okay.
We love our naps. Yes, we do.
So how do they get more energy? Now, remember, manifestor doesn't have the sacral center colored in, right? That's the big sustaining, most powerful center in the body, and they do not have that. So when you relate to a manifestor, if you really want to have them receive your information, it's best to just inform them. Let them know what's happening. It may be really hard to not ask them, hey, can you help me out? Because you see this very powerful person, hey, can you do that for me? But really, when you inform them and even use that word, or I'm just letting you know, manifestors relate to that. They do feel across the board, manifestors feel this pressure, and they feel an intrinsic responsibility when people, ask them, or just responsible because they know they can do what other people can't do. So to keep those communication channels open, Meet with your manifestor, let them know what the situation is, and then that's it. I'm planning on this, or I've been thinking about that. I just wanted to let you know that this has been kind of buzzing around in my head. And then, can you help me? No, don't say that. Don't say that part. Just say, let you know. So, they're pretty smart. They're going to either take action on what you've presented with them or not. And, if it's aligned with them, they'll support you, or they'll give you a suggestion of, oh, hey, I know someone that does that. And so it's just much more efficient way to interact with manifestors, because, their energy, their bandwidth is strong but short. And they need to be the ones to decide. They don't respond, they initiate. So it's up to the manifestor to inform you of whether they're going to get involved or not. And then what do you need from them? They may say that. So what do you need from me? Okay, I know you got this project or you got this thing going on. What do you need from me?
Yeah.
And then they can go from there.
And I'll
Anything
say,
you want to add on that, Nicole, on
yeah, I do.
manifestors communicating?
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think when we think about the brilliant brain training and all of the pieces that we're bringing in, that's kind of the deconditioning, I really want you to think about what it would feel like to say no to something, right? Is this that when people are asking for you to do something and you feel that reaction of like, I don't have the time or the energy for this, or you are asking someone who you can tell physically is not having the time or energy to do something, but their desire or your desire is to say yes because you want to avoid feeling bad, right? This is some of the conditioning stuff, that the deconditioning rather, that we're doing in brilliant brain training. And so I really want you to experiment with this and really find, if somebody says like, hey, I'm doing this and I could really use your help, just because they don't know how to say, I need help. They're asking you if for help, right? They don't really know, but if they say, I could really use your help, you can really tap in and gauge whether or not you have the time or the energy to do what they're requesting. And it's okay for you to just inform them lovingly or kindly or any way that feels direct, and just say, I'm sorry, I hear that you're saying that I'm not able to do that right now. And you can just leave it at that. And so one thing I'll say is that even in my marriage, just speaking from the manifestor, is that my husband and I were having a conversation about something, and he was saying like, well, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And I was just kind of like, okay, you don't need to ask me, right? Like, just tell me what you've got going on. Or I'll say something like, I wish you would just let me know of your plan. And then, in the wrong context, he was like, well, I didn't know I need to ask for permission. And I was able to very clearly and calmly say, no, there's no asking permission. I just need you to inform me of your plan so that I would know ahead. And so the informing isn't the same thing as asking. And that's just been such an amazing awareness that I've learned in human design, that it helps me to inform others. And when other people inform me, it's not about what they need necessarily. It's just a way that I can respond better to the requests or to what they need without it being a request, just an informing of what they need. And I'm like, oh, I'm either available for it or I'm not. And I can go from there. So.
And just one little refinement, since you brought that up, if any of you have manifestor children, when you're raising a manifestor, you teach them how to ask for permission. Can I go play at Tommy's house, or can I have this, or whatever it is, to a certain point. And then as they become more mature, then it goes into informing.
Yeah.
If that comes up for you, because manifestor children can be very powerful.
And I don't know for sure, right, when it comes to that, but I would say my initial reaction to that is that when you're responding to a manifestor child, an if then or an if when, or a when then statement. So when your homework is done, then you can play with your friends. It's just an informing them of what they can do or what they can't do. And here's your process. So when you're done with your dinner, then you can go and play. When you finish your sandwich, then you can eat some chips, so that it's a level of informing that's not like, well, I need you to eat your sandwich so that you can, it's like because they don't care what you need. That's the thing. It's like with love, we say, well, it's not really about what you need. Just inform them of what needs to be done. And then they can make a decision. Well, either I'm not willing to eat the sandwich and I'm going to let go of the chips, and that's just a decision that they're going to make. They're available for it or not. So I never thought of it that way, but that's what came to me. So I hope that that
Yep,
aligns.
that's a great parenting tip. Absolutely.
All right, let's
Okay, where are we going next?
see here.
Okay, and a few more tips for manifestors. They have more energy. Follow these tips. And the manifestor is really, their journey is for peace, peaceful relationships, feeling peaceful about their results, and being proactive in your communication with your team or your family. Know that the people around you are open and want to hear from you. When a manifestor sits down at the dinner table, it's like, oh, what does that person have to say? There's a knowing, there's an instinctual chemistry that happens. And so they're waiting for something. People are waiting for something to respond to. They're listening to this manifestor. Are they going to give me an invitation? Are they going to give me something to respond to? Manifestors have initiating power, which, as we talked about, it needs collaboration from others on their terms. Okay, so also manifestor, consider giving back any projects that you have volunteered for as the manifestor you choose where to give your energy to. So this is part of the deconditioning that Nicole brought up. As manifestors, I've coached a lot of them, and it's like really looking at what are all the things on their to-do list, what are their projects and the people, and it's like, oh, and how did you end up on that committee? Oh, well, everybody said I'd be really good at that. Yep. Did you initiate or did you respond to that? So just an extra tip for manifestors there about having more energy. You have some control over that.
Yeah, and you can always go back and change things, right? That's the good news, is that if you have committed to doing something, you can say, who else could do this, and reinform and redirect the energy in other places. It just requires direct communication. So that's also possible.
Okay, so we got our generators here, right? 70% of the planet. So when you're relating to generators, the best thing to do is to ask them for yes, no questions. Ask them in a form of a yes or no. We got lots of examples there. And it helps them gain clarity and access to their energy. A generator knows what they want based on their gut, their sacral. That's the first stop. Some people have other centers that are colored in that also inform them, but generally speaking, generators, getting that gut response, having a feeling of what that response is. And it takes time, it's some practice. They function best when you keep your questions simple and avoid multiple choice. And generators may need some practice to learn to respond from their gut. So just be patient with it. So an example of that would be, hey, honey, you want to go for Mexican food, Chinese, or are you ready for burgers? And it's like, boom, boom, boom. It's like, no, ask me first. Are you hungry? Would you like to cook? Would you like to go out to eat? Mm-hmm. How does Mexican food sound? So it's like keeping it really simple. And I'm a sacral generator, so I have practiced this for many, many years. And even when I can get, if people give me too many choices, I'm like, I'm up here. It's making me think, or why did you do that? It's like those kinds of what and why questions get me in my head, whether just give me a choice, or I can look at a picture and I can respond to a picture, or I can respond to words on a page. So when you ask generators yes or no questions and they answer from their gut or their sacral center, and not this automatic pilot response, right? Oh, sure. Or I always go, When someone says sure, I'm asking a generator a question. When they say sure, that's from the head. It's like, no, that's not really your gut. um, there was another point I wanted to make there with that. The automatic pilot. Yeah. Okay. So, oh no, I always go to the movies on Saturday, or I always hang out with that particular person. It's like, let go of all of that and take it fresh, take it in the moment. Do you have energy for that?
Mm.
And so when you answer from the gut, then your response is much more engaged and aligned. And when you're more engaged generator, you have more energy for the things and the people that are very satisfying for you.
Oh, good. All right. Well, I just wanted to say one thing. So I always choice clothes my husband. I'd be like, do you want to load the dishwasher, or you want to put away laundry? And so I don't know where he falls as far as the yes no questions, but I feel like I've simplified my questions for those type of things. But we call that choice closing, or at least that's what I've learned it as, is choice close. But I love that there's a sequence of questions, the yes or no. So I'm gonna have to do some more investigating on who is what in my family, because I love how much easier this would probably be for them to not have to think about the answers. It's just a yes or no. So I love that.
Yeah, don't let them go to their head. That's a dangerous place for something so simple.
Right.
Okay, so when you're related to generators, remember that they can sometimes feel stuck or frustrated, and you can help them direct their energy and help them move more into a feeling of satisfaction. Generators create and experience frustration when they start something because it made sense or it seemed like a really good idea. Other rationales that causes a frustration is that they've always done a particular thing or event or things a certain way. Like I always went to Florida in February, or going to the movies every weekend. Kind of talked about this in the other slide. It's good for generators to notice their response or energy level each time. So, and I'm going to talk about automatic pilot in just a second. They can create frustration when they assume because something was satisfying for them before and it will be again. Oh my gosh, I did this. A birthday a couple of years ago. It was like, I always like to do this certain thing on my birthday. And it was like, I did those certain things and I didn't feel satisfied. It was like, oh, I didn't really check in and really find out what is it that I really want to do. Was that aligned for me? The other thing about the automatic pilot is also like the expectations. Everybody thinks I'm going to be there because I always go, or we do things out of obligation. This happens with families a lot. This is where generators pick up a lot of frustration, is because they're acting out of frustration. So you really want to pay attention to, as generators, what's my thinking? Am I trying to figure this out? Am I trying to make sense out of my life? Because I got to tell you, the sacral center is not about logic. It's about response. It's about wanting pleasure and satisfaction. It's not about pleasing other people. So generators can be, healthy and have lots of energy when there's something to respond to that they, when there isn't something to respond to, they can misuse their energy by initiating or pursuing something. Generators are here to respond, not to initiate or pursue. And it's okay for generators to initiate by asking a question, but not to take action unless there's something to respond to. So I get this question, well, what do you do if there's two generators? Who's going to get anything started? It's like, well, start asking each other yes or no questions and get, I always look at like a tennis game. And even if, it's like, oh, now that I started this, it's like, it's tennis, right? For a generator, people say, well, I really, really want to do this. And you tell me I can't initiate anything. And I'm like, hit the ball across the net. see what happens. And what that might look like in our world is make the phone call, send the email. Hey, I've been thinking about this, and I was getting like, you might be interested in it. You hit the ball across the net. If the ball comes back, great. Then you've got something, the ball's in play. If not, it's like, no energy, no response, let it go. Might come back later. If your child is a generator, notice when he or she gets frustrated and help them redirect their energy by asking them yes, no questions about other healthy options for expression. So, this could even be picking up toys or finishing homework, or really getting into, what do they have energy for? And what's the frustration about?
So
But
out
with
of
yes, no questions.
curiosity, oh yeah, so out of curiosity, so it's like if a generator is trying to tap in with something, are they basically asking themselves yes and no questions to see where their energy is? Or is that's in the decision making? So maybe that's a different place of feeling, right? Of knowing what's right or wrong, or correct for, not right or wrong, but what's correct for you. But does a generator do better if they're asking themselves yes or no questions to get to their answer?
Well, there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can, and you have to really be careful that the mind isn't stepping in. So, but you can write the questions down,
Okay.
right? Or you can ask a friend. There's a thing called a sacral session. If somebody's wanting to make a big decision, like moving to another state or making a big change in their career. If you can work with a professional and have them ask you yes, no questions, a bunch of them in a row. There's also one thing that I did at the very beginning of my process is that people would ask me to go to something, whether it was a phone call or an email or something that was going on. And I would say, let me get back to you on that. And then I would sit in stillness, right? Not a deep meditation, but just really be really, okay, this person asked me to do this, or this event is coming up. And I would really just feel into, does my sacral feel a lift, or do I contract, or is it flat? And this is what really trips up generators. It's like, well, I don't feel anything. Well, if you don't feel anything, it's a no, or at least it's a no for now. You don't have enough information. If, say your cousin wants to come and stay with you for 3 or 4 days. And when you first get the question, you're like, I don't know, and then it's like, well, you have to talk about it more. Oh, what were your expectations? Oh, well, I was only going to stay one night because I've got other things going on in the area. And and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's really, as you see, my body just, it's a lift. Oh, that's okay if it's flat. So there's, some people have tried looking in the mirror and watching their eyes. And I mean, you just have to kind of play with it and see what works for you. But if you feel like this is new and you're concerned that your mind, your obligations, your shoulds are getting in the way, if you ever hear the word should, then you know that that's not in alignment. That's logic. So just a bunch of different little tips wrapped up in your question there.
Yeah.
That each person has to kind of test out what works for them. For me, it was just sitting still and not being in anybody's energy when that was possible to do, to make a decision about whether I was going to go or give my energy to something.
Okay. All right. I know it's not really about communication, but it is, I guess, communicating with self. So, all right.
Okay. Also, another way to have more energy is when you notice your generator is trying to figure out what he or she should do next, remind them to wait until there is something to respond to. Oh my gosh, this is huge.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't know. And all getting all cut up in the head, right? So in the meantime, ask them questions about something that they can do in their immediate environment. So would you like to go for a swim? Do you have energy for this or that? Some kind of physical activities, really important for generators to be physical, to take walks, things like that. And, you know, so all different ways to like things that you can do in the interim when you're feeling the frustration or not sure what you have energy for.
Interesting. I feel like I've been through this situation with someone before where it was like they were trying to weigh out all these options, but I was like, but we don't have enough information for you to be weighing out options. And so in that situation, it was literally like, there's nothing for you to respond to because everything is just left very open and there's no decision that's necessary right now because, you know, we're waiting for more. And so they could have just rested and relaxed in waiting to respond when there was more information or when the next thing you know was apparent or relevant. So interesting to be able to help them, maybe tell them what they need without, if they don't know that that's a way of communicating or whatever, to wait to respond and then just make that suggestion. What if we wait till there's more information? So
That's a big key, but also just like when we get in the mind and trying to figure things out, we're disconnected from our power center as a generator. It's like, well, enjoy that energy for yourself. Okay, so now we're moving on to relating to projectors. When you're relating to a projector, recognize their keen sense of knowing. They are super, super smart. And they're really good at observing you and noticing what's going on. You may not be aware of the more subtle changes around you, but projectors are. And they can sometimes know you better than you know yourself. And projectors are watching and paying attention to you, and you'll benefit when you ask them to share their observations. Following these simple steps will improve any projector relationship, and you'll be glad you did because their guidance can save you time and frustration. Best of all, they will have more energy and appreciation for you. Okay, so one is if you ask them for advice and they give it to you, test it out and see if it fits for your situation. Once you've tried their suggestions, give them feedback about how it worked for you. You'll get extra snuggles when you're generous with your praise. The most successful projectors in life and relationships know how to guide and lead themselves first. If a projector doesn't know their preferences and direction, they will not be effective guides for others. So here's the thing with a projector. They come in with this keen knowledge. They're not distracted by the sacral, like 70% of the people on the planet, right? 70% of the people on the planet have this energy that's constantly moving. It's distracting. You got to go for a walk, you got to move around. You know, you got to be in action, where projectors are more, there's more of a stillness about them, especially the healthy ones. And they just notice everything. And but they have to be invited. They have to be asked about what they're observing. So we can move on.
yeah, can I ask one question though? When it comes to projectors, I mean, you may not know this, but how many of them have a defined spleen, like the splenic? That is that like a something for projectors? Because I know that that's a the defined spleen is for the intuition. So is it a high percentage of projectors that have that?
I think it's about 30%, because that's about a third of them are, or a little bit less, are splenic projectors. There's mental projectors, there's emotional projectors, there's will projectors.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a percentage of them that have a defined spleen and don't have the emotional center, because if the emotional center is colored in and the spleen, as we went through the hierarchy, on inner authority, it is the emotional center. So it's a smaller amount that are splenic projectors.
Got it.
If you have a projector child, communicate them with recognition and invitations. And there's some examples there. Gee, I noticed this, or would you like to get something to eat, or it's time now, or it's interesting that just enrolling them, inviting them can make a difference for them instead of just thinking that they're just going to go do it. You'll enjoy your relationships with others when you wait until you are asked and for their insights and observations. In the meantime, keep your focus on subjects or activities that you really enjoy. Those who appreciate your gifts will find you. This note to projectors is like a whole nother topic. What I have found, the thing that is the biggest struggle for projectors is that they hear the strategy, wait to be invited. They hear that they're guides for the other. But it's so important that they really know what their gifts are, what they're offering. They're not here for everyone, right? So this statement, focus on subjects and activities that you really enjoy, that's a mouthful. It's really, really important. And for projectors to really be empowered. Okay.
Oh, you say that's a good next
Yeah.
slide. Well, and I was just gonna say one little thing, because you use the word enroll, which I love. And I do this with my kids when you're thinking about, getting a projector involved in something or initiating them or inviting them. Sometimes with my kids, I have to really paint the vision of why they really want to get their shoes on to get out the door, to do the fun thing that's ahead of them. Because getting on the shoes can sometimes be a struggle. And so the enrollment part is kind of being the person who's creating the vision of what's going forward. And then that's like inviting them. And maybe that's part of the recognition of like, oh, I know you're going to love it when we do this. This is super exciting. And then they're like, oh yeah, actually, I really do enjoy that. So I'm now motivated to find my shoes. So I'm sure it works for all the people, not just kids, but that's how I related to that. So thank you for sharing it.
Yes. So they can have more energy when you're relating to projectors. Remember to encourage them to take short breaks during the day and to have an early bedtime, to go to bed before they're tired. Projectors are not weak, but they do have a tendency to overdo and they become exhausted. By taking breaks, they can increase their awareness of their natural energy level and notice when they are borrowing energy from others. With almost 70% of the population being in generators, it's easy for projectors to get carried away with the enormous energy that the generators embody. So at the end of the day, we also have a whole slide on that, or a whole training on at the end of the day. Projectors do best going to bed before they're tired, and their practice assists them in unwinding and resetting for their day ahead. It sets them up for feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. So like 20 minutes is usually a good amount of time to reset and to do that before they're become exhausted. So when you're relating to your reflectors, prepare for a relationship that is unique and changeable. Their energy works same as a projector when they're invited. So you'll be the one that will be doing the asking. Reflectors follow a simple strategy, as they need time alone away from everyone during the day as well, and an earlier bedtime to really clear themselves before they sleep. And because reflectors have all 9 energy centers opened up, they can pick up different energies in the environment every day. Relating to the reflectors. Remember, your reflectors can morph seem to be different from one day to the next. And when communicating with a reflector and you want them to participate in a decision, remember to give them 30 days. They're very much connected to the cycle of the moon to make a final decision. They require extra time to source information and to sample different things in their environment and different people. So when you relate to reflectors, notice they can struggle with disappointment about their openness, and they're changeable. It's like, what's consistent for them. You can encourage them to enjoy their unique qualities and deep wisdom and surprises that come when they wait for the invitations of life. Reflectors, surround yourself with people that you trust. Super, super important to really assess people before you let them into your inner circle. Remember, quality is far more important than quantity. People who love and trust you will assist you when you're faced with making bigger decisions. So there we have it. We got communication tips and other tips for each of the types in there. And this video was created to enhance your strategies and give you a little bit, make it a little bit more personal for you. I did want to mention on this recording that when people come to human design and they resonate with it and they get excited about it and they want to know how to use it in their life and they want to start sharing it with other people, that some people are going to respond in kind with that and be excited about it, and some people are not. Many times I hear from my clients, it's like, well, my boyfriend or my girlfriend or the main people in their life aren't into human design. And so these tips are given to you for you to, tuck in your pocket and use as you're becoming more and more of who you really are, and not to necessarily tell people about human design or tell people, well, I can't do that because I'm a projector, or you have to invite me. It's like, no, you need to kind of assess not just the words that are coming out, but the energy and how you're being treated by others, if they can really appreciate who you really are and who you're becoming.
Yeah. And I'll even say, to add on to that, that when you are going through your experiment and you are integrating things and you are checking for alignment, one thing is you're going to find that there might be some resistance and tension in relationships because you are changing the way your way you're showing up is now different. So you're doing things differently. And what I would encourage you to try to do is to allow people to catch up in their own time, to give them some space and grace to see that you're doing things differently, and for you to just continue to consistently be differently. And above all, this is the hardest part, I think, of all of it, is to allow it to be uncomfortable without thinking you have to go back to being the way that you were, or that you need their approval to do it now differently. So the addiction to approval, we talk about that in the program, and the need to avoid the discomfort is the reason why people start to make changes that feel better and feel more aligned, but it's different than what they've experienced in their life. And so they're getting resistance from other people. And so it's like it makes them want to retract and go back to their old pattern or their old way. So I just want to really encourage you to allow the discomfort without making it mean anything, not need anybody else's approval for you to be more aligned and integrated into your design, and just keep doing the experiment and allow yourself to do that independent of what other people are doing. This is for you and for your relationship with yourself. So all of the experimenting is just that. It's trial and error. So try it on and let it go and do it differently next time. And don't hold it against yourself if it's not working right away, or it's like, oh, I thought this was going to feel really good. Probably not, right? There's probably going to be some growth that requires you to feel good about some of the embodiment, and especially when it comes to communication, communicating differently. It's not necessarily going to feel great. It could be a lot of great things can come from clear communication and understanding that. More than anything, confidence in yourself and what you're doing and what you're saying, and feeling good about that from within and not needing the external validation. So just want to encourage you to do that. So I think I'm done. I love everything that you've taught us. Do you have any other closing thoughts?
The only thing I would add to what you said, and underscore, is about communication, and that, you know, we're constantly upgrading our communication. The words that we use, our words are so powerful. And this is just one piece of a huge topic about communication, communicating with yourself, communicating with others, understanding your audience, you know, setting boundaries, not explaining, not looking for approval. All of that comes through how, you know, the words, of course, how you hold yourself in the space that you hold yourself in, but the words that you use.
Yeah. So in the Brilliant Brain Training Program, we do talk a lot about boundaries versus barriers, and what does that look like and feel like. Part of what we talk about is communication and how to say things in a new way. And a lot of that comes back to the human design. But most of it's just doing it differently than you've done before so that you create a different result. What's correct for you might not be correct for somebody else. And so there's always having that openness to allowing everybody to kind of work with what's best for them too. So, all right, well, we'll see you guys in the next module. Thanks so much. And go, you know, drop into the Facebook group. Let us know if you have any questions. Make sure you show up to any of the coaching calls and ask us, what do you like, where, if you're hitting a block or if you're coming up to something and you want some support on how do I say it, what to say, how do I say it, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you, support you in the integration. So that's all, and we'll talk to you guys later.